Are we the new kulaks? You say, what's a kulak? In Soviet Russia, after the revolution, there was a class of peasant. They were just a little bit of cut above the rest of the peasants. Obviously, you had dirt poor peasants that couldn't afford anything and literally lived hand to mouth. Then you had the kulaks, who were industrious, hard-working, but they were working class, but they'd done well for themselves. They managed to eke out a slightly better living than the peasants that were literally treated a little better than animals by the Russian Tsar and the people that came before the Russian Revolution. So when the revolution came, the kulaks realized that the Soviet Union was not going to be a good idea for them, was not going to be a good idea for their families, was not going to be a good idea for their prosperity. So they rose up. And Lenin, you see, a lot of communists talk about Joseph Stalin and say, well, he wasn't really a communist. Well, I think most of them would admit that Lenin was a communist. Lenin ordered the mass execution of the kulaks by hanging in 1918. And the persecutions carried on right the way through the 1920s until Stalin decided there was a final solution for the kulaks. And the final solution was very, very simple. Shot, imprisoned in Siberia, or starved. It was a genocide of his own people. And it was a genocide that was encouraged. It was encouraged by the people that were just below the kulaks, the peasants, or they were encouraged to hate the kulaks. And I look at where the British working class is in the 21st century, and I see a government that treats us very much like kulaks. The British working class, and I'm talking about the working class that work, are despised by people like Keir Starmer. And the identity politics game, which is a very dangerous game, which has been played by people on all sides, but especially by the far left, especially by the communists, by the cultural Marxists, they love to separate people into different identity groups. And the new kulaks, I believe, are the British people. And we're constantly being told that we have white privilege, that we are to be ashamed of our history and ashamed of what our forefathers did. That is extremely demoralising to everybody that's British. It's extremely demoralising. Well, we're all being told we're racist. Well, by the very fact and nature of us having white skin, critical race theory teaches us that we're racist. And of course, now we've got a communist regime under Keir Stalin. We can expect to be treated very, very much like the kulaks were. And that's what's happening in these show trials. Think about what's just happened in the last 2 weeks. People dragged off the street. People that, yes, there are bad people that rioted and they need to go to prison, no doubt about it. But there's people going to prison that were just standing at riots. There's people going to prison, 69-year-old man, 3 years in prison for standing at a riot with a stick and shouting at the police. He didn't attack anyone. There's people going to prison for social media posts. Demonised, the far right. The British people are the new kulaks. And we have our own equivalent to Joseph Stalin in power. And I mean that. I mean that. He is going to use the law to torture, demoralise and try to break the British people. And we've got to be aware of that. And we've got to push back against it. I'm not talking about breaking any laws. I'm not talking about being violent. We've always said we're a peaceful movement. But we've got to take to the streets for our festivals, for our celebrations, and show him and his little lackeys what we're really about. And we're really about bringing the country together, bringing the nation together under God, under law, under common law, under our historical and cultural norms that have made our country what it is. We've got to show Keir Starmer that we're not going to be broken by him. He's not going to turn community against community. And I've said it before, there is an evil triad operating in this country. And it's the ists, it's the globalists, It's the Islamists. And it's the Stalinists or the communists. And we've got to push back, and we've got to fight, and we've got to organise, and we've got to build a movement that will politically, democratically and legally take power in 5 years' time. And then there'll be some show trials. Because I'm convinced that what these people have done is breaking human rights law. It's got to be, when people are getting sent to prison just for watching riots. These men have got to be breaking the law by their judgments. They've got to be. Anyway, are we the new kulaks?